All right, hello everybody. My name's Eric, and today I'm going to be presenting on the Lockheed C-5 Galaxy, the U.S. military's largest plane in its fleet. All right, so here's a picture as we get into it. As you can see, it's a different design than most other planes, like airliners, for example. It has a T-tail. It's large. Has four engines, as well as you can see that the wings are mounted on the top compared to the bottom. A little history about the C5. It replaced the Lockheed C-141 Starlifter, which previously was the U.S. military's largest cargo plane or plane in general. Um, so the mission for the C5 is heavy intercontinental range strategic airlift. So basically, what that means is bringing troops or anything that's oversized for a normal plane uh, into bases overseas and around the country. So the C5 has been operational ever since 1970 and has been involved in every major military conflict since then, including the Vietnam War, Operation Enduring Freedom, Desert Storm, and they also do humanitarian missions such as Hurricane Katrina, as well as COVID-19. They were delivering supplies around the world. In 1974, they successfully dropped an 86,000 pound ICBM from its aft cargo compartment. An ICBM is an intercontinental ballistic missile. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I'd recommend searching that video up. I think it's the only time it's ever been done where they've dropped that heavy of a bomb from a plane. And today, they are still operated by the U.S. Air Force, active duty and the reserve side. Right now, they're all stationed either at Travis Air Force Base in California, Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, Dover, I believe, is in Delaware, and Westover in Massachusetts. Some interesting things about the design. The design of the C5 was, like I said earlier, the wings are mounted on top of the fuselage to allow easier loading of cargo. And my bad, there's a typo right there, but it says also the wings are angled downward to allow for the huge amount of flex due to the heavy cargo loaded. So with the heavy cargo loaded and taking off, the plane can reach almost 12 feet of natural flex on the airplane's wings. So that's natural, meaning there's no mechanical linkages causing or system causing the wings to bend. That's just its natural bend due to the weight of cargo. The initial cost when manufacturing the C5 was about $60 million per plane, which is a lot. um, but only 4 years into operation in 1974, they already found flaws within the wings due to the just enormous amount of load on them, which caused them to be grounded. And you know, costing $60 million, Congress was still debating on just scrapping the whole C5 program, even after all that money. However, 1974, President Reagan was able to approve a $1.4 billion budget through Congress to upgrade all 76 C5 existing planes. So they all got new wings, as well as ordering 50 brand new upgraded redesigned C5s due to Russia's increased threat. So moving on, here's just another cool picture I found of the C5. As you can see, it's pretty big. You have some F-15s, uh, fighter aircraft right next to it, and you can see the sheer amount of size. And if you see on the bottom, you can see the C-130, which is also a military cargo aircraft that they operate today. And as you can see, even by that standards, it's a lot bigger than that. All right, so some interesting numbers about the C5. It has four 41,000 pound thrust GE TF39 turbofan engines. The max speed Um, Max speed of the C5 is 601 knots per hour, and then a cruise speed of 528 knots per hour. It has 5 sets of landing gear and 28 wheels. And its max, it doesn't have a max that I found, but what I can find online, but the max cargo load of 280,000 pounds in its cargo department has a range of about 2,150 nautical miles, and being able to offload it at that destination and fly for another 500 nautical miles without any aerial refueling. So, some interesting things other than the cargo department compartment is it also has a second level similar to a 747, where it has 73 seats. But the interesting thing is it's facing rearward rather than facing towards the pilots. And I couldn't tell you the reason for that, but it's just an interesting fact. And with aerial refueling, there's really no range. It's only limited by the air crew. I'm sure the engines will give out at some point, but yeah, usually air crew gives out before the plane does. And then the crew that operates the C5 consists of a pilot, a co-pilot, a flight engineer who kind of acts as a pilot's brain, looking at all the instruments, and the load master who's responsible for the weight and balance of anything that's loaded onto that aircraft. Here's an interesting picture I found. It's a C-130 with its wings taken off. It's the fuselage, and as you can see, the C5 just swallows it. I'm going to speed up a little bit because I'm going over time. Some interesting facts about C5. It's nicknamed the Fred. That's what people call it, and you can see why. It's just a ridiculous, expensive plane to maintain. And some cool things are the rear and the front of the plane open to allow easier cargo. So in theory, a armored vehicle could drive straight through. It holds 86 world aeronautical records, and some things that it can carry. It can carry a payload of 5 helicopters, 6 MRAPs, which are those armored vehicles. As you saw in the picture before, it can swallow the fuselage of another cargo plane, C-130. And some people have said that it's as long as a football field and as tall as a six-story building. And also that its cargo compartment is comparable to an 8-lane bowling alley. Yeah, so I went a little bit over, but thank you for listening. And, have a good one.